So welcome back again to this week's vlog. We're back at Blea Tarn. We just can't get enough of this place, honestly. So this is the third time that we've been in 2 weeks. This time we've focused, maybe for the last hour or so, trying to get some woodland shots just as you walk through. So you come through the gate and walk down and pretty much just follow the path into this woodland. And there was a really lovely birch tree that caught my eye just on the embankment, and a couple of other trees. So we've spent, like I say, maybe the last hour just having a look around, just to see if we can, I suppose, get any nice woodland shots whilst we're waiting again for sunset. Tomorrow is forecast really horrendous weather, so we thought let's come out tonight and just see if we can make anything else here. What I've been doing sort of as we've come down, so we're on the left hand side of the tarn and we're sort of almost at the edge, I suppose, a little bit, and there's a nice little wooden fence leading up to I think it's the Langdales. But what I'm doing at the moment is trying to get some abstract shots in the water. So in this section of the tarn is really still, and just trying to pick out a couple of bits, just playing, really just experimenting whilst we're waiting. Just over sort of in front of me, the tarn is, there's quite a lot of movement in it, but we're quite sheltered here, which is nice. There is a tree to my right that's caught my eye, so I'm going to go and have a look at that in a second. But yeah, it's on the way up, it was looking promising. We had a really wispy cloud, that sort of almost cloud that you look at and it looks like long exposure cloud, really streaky, thin, lovely cloud. I'm just hoping that that doesn't burn off, else we'll have had another sort of, I suppose, not wasted journey, because it's not, there's nowhere else that I would rather be other than here, except for Scotland. But really sort of really wanting to capture this scene how I see it in my mind. And I know sort of the last video from Blea Tarn, you know, sort of people were saying, you know, you didn't get the conditions and maybe you don't need them with a scene like that. But I think the thing is, you see it in your mind's eye, you see the image that you want, and it never works out that way, or very rarely. So we're hoping that we're third time lucky. It's just, I suppose, to create that sense of sunset, that feel and that sort of warmth in the image, that when the sun goes down and it casts that lovely orange glow, which it is doing, but sort of replicating that in the sky with the clouds, that's what we're wanting. And if you don't come out, you're not going to get the opportunity. So we're back again and we'll see what happens. So I've just come over to this tree that I could see from down there, and it's got a few branches that are twisting off it. There's 2 trees at the front closest to me, and another tree just to the right hand side of the twirly tree. Behind it we've got a really green vibrant tree, and some of the trunks are sort of green and orange, so it's quite a colourful image. but I've slightly underexposed it a little bit, just to try and bring out the light that's in the background. I do quite like the shot, and I've angled the camera up slightly just to get more of these branches in, because the interest in the tree is a bit further up. There is another little tree just behind it, a little sapling, that I'm going to attempt, because again the colours on the leaves are just lime green and it's quite dark in the background, so I'm going to go and have a look at that. And then I really need to concentrate on the reason that we've come to try and get this sunset. I've not picked the composition out yet. The sky is still looking quite promising. A plane's gone over and created a bit of a trail, which isn't great. But at the moment, I'm really enjoying woodland photography. Never ever thought that I would say that. But I just think, we were saying on the way up, that I think the thing with woodland is that you can pick out your own compositions, your own images that hopefully nobody else has maybe thought of, or the angle that you've taken a shot from might not be the same as everybody else. So yeah, it's interesting, because you're not coming to a woodland with a preconceived idea of what you might get, or looking at someone else's images, because a tree could be anywhere, you know, in a woodland. And I think that's the thing that I'm liking. It's different. But yeah, I'm going to carry on, maybe have a look for 2 more woodland shots, and then focus on the Tarn. Okay, so what I've done, I've taken an image of this little sapling tree on its own with those lovely lime leaves. And what I've done is I've done a landscape shot as well, trying to get some contrast, I think, between the greens on this tree and the orange trunk. We have also got another little green tree just in the background. And on this shot, I've centered this orange trunk in the middle of the frame, with the tree, the lime green tree just to the right, and then these sort of maybe 3 or 4 other trees just to the left. And I do really like that shot. You can see the roots of the tree on this one in the middle as well, which is quite nice. There's not a lot of light, maybe just a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I'm sort of still not focused on the Tarn at all, and we've probably got maybe half an hour till sunset. I am keeping an eye on it, but what I don't want to do is come here, focus on the Tarn, and be disappointed again. I don't really want to say disappointed, because who wouldn't be impressed, I suppose, looking at that view? It's absolutely incredible. But we took those shots last week. We have come up to a different bit, just so that if it does happen, you know, we can take some different images to show you from what we took last week. But there's so much opportunity in these trees and this is where I'm drawn to. So I think until I can sort of see, oh wow, that is going to happen, I'm going to keep having a look around just to see what else we can get. But yeah, it's you just sort of wonder how old these trees are and what stories they'd be able to tell. It's amazing. And the way that they sort of entwine and sort of interact with each other, and the shapes in the trees. I mean, I'm just looking at 2 in front of me now that are sort of almost bending in tandem. It's strange. It's just fascinating the way that they grow, and sort of they're untouched really. Little bit of a shame that as we walked in, there was bark stripped off some of the trees, which I don't know if people are using that for firewood, although people shouldn't be camping here anyway. But as you walk in, the trees are all in straight lines, and sort of the pine trees, so that there's a carpet of pine needles and acorns. So there might be acorn trees. But yeah, there was maybe 2 or 3 of the trees that had bark stripped off them, which just is an absolute shame. But yeah, I'm going to stop waffling. I'm losing the plot a little, but I'm going to keep looking and see what else we can find. So the cloud that was there earlier has stayed. We are now sunset time, and as yet there's not a lot happening. There was maybe 5 minutes ago just some sort of orangey pink hue in the clouds just behind the mountains there. But the other week when we came, we'd packed up and was walking off back to the car, and it did light a little bit, so I'm not going to be too hesitant in packing away. I just need to be really careful where I'm standing so that I don't knock my tripod over. But it is it's going quite dark in terms of light across the scene. It's quite flat, so unless that sky really lights, Blea Tarn has defeated us yet again for the 3rd time in a row. But you know, in terms of the woodland, I mean, and again, just looking at it now, the vibrance is just so nice. You know, you could pick out any little scene in there and have a nice image. But yeah, it's all right. What I've done in terms of the image is I've focused on the rocks that are closest to me. I've focused sort of in the mid-ground and then focused on the mountain. So I've got sort of a stacked image, a focus stacked image. And just so that when I get back to the computer and I'm sort of looking through them, I know which are which. There's the well-known trick of putting your hand in front of the camera and taking a shot at the start of a panel or at the start of a focus stack, so that you know which is which. So I've done that, and what I'm now doing is I've dialed my exposure down, really down, just so that I've got the correct exposure for the sky. And then what I'll try to do is put those together in Photoshop. I think probably the thing that you've got to be careful of is that it still looks natural and it still looks like it's one image rather than 2 exposures put together. But I suppose that's the skill, I suppose, with editing and Photoshop. So we'll give it maybe another 10-15 minutes, and if nothing happens, nothing happens. Pleased with maybe some of those woodland shots, and you know, it's been another lovely little outing. So it's now 9 o'clock, nothing's happened. Again, we do live in hope, and you know, that perseverance in landscape photography does pay off when it happens. Unfortunately, it's not done anything. I've left the tripod set up there while we say ta-ra, but it's not looking likely. So from Blea Tarn, we'll say adios. And we'll see you next week. It'd be lovely if that lights.